Announce her name.
Samuel.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, Kentucky. Hey, uh, welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days left until Tuesday, November 7th. This week, we've got, we're just election happy. A lot of us have been out knocking doors and making calls and doing all kinds of things that, we'd hope everybody would be doing when an important election's coming up like it is. So this week, we are pretty sure we've got an interview with Adrielle Camuel. She's the Democrat running in the special election in the 93rd House District. And we'll meet her over in what we call our campaign corner to hear how the campaign's going. And then we will close out with a call to action. But first, are you ready to help turn Kentucky purple? While political ads are trying to convince you Andy Beshear is Joe Biden's running mate, that he's against churches or that he's soft on crime, folks, those ads, they only have one goal: convince you to stay home instead of supporting the candidate you were leaning towards. Not exactly great for our democracy. And that, my friends, that is why Progress Kentucky is so excited to be part of the Kentucky Future Project, to build the political coalition of new voters, progressive voters, and non-white voters, very important, who can come together to make our Commonwealth better. We are working with great groups such as Planned Parenthood, Hood to the Holler, and many others to turn out the new Kentucky majority and achieve better electoral outcomes for our Commonwealth. Now, if you, my friend, want to support our efforts within this coalition, please make a donation at our Secure Act Blue site. $5, $50, $500. Yes, it's possible, could happen. It all adds up, my friends, and it will give us the materials we need to make a positive difference on November 7th. And now it's time to check in with our co-hosts, and please let us know who and where you are. What does your protest sign say today? Oh, and you there on the internet. Yeah, no, don't go walking away. I'm talking to you. We mean you too. We would love to read what your sign says. Just put it in the chat while we're sharing ours. Now, so I should introduce myself. This is Nate Orshan coming live and direct from South Frankfurt. And my sign today says, vote for Andy Beshear like your life depends on it, because it just might. And let's turn the camera over now to my co-host, Doug Price.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here tonight. I'm wearing my purple Together Frankfurt t-shirt along with my purple Progress Kentucky t-shirt. I like to let everybody know what I'm wearing because I guess it's just I'm stylish or whatever. I'm coming to you from Harrison County, Kentucky, and I always say something about Cynthia or Harrison County, and Aaron always gives me grief. So tonight, I'm not going to talk about Cynthia, Harrison County, although it's a great place. I'm going to mention Paris, Kentucky, neighboring city. They just built a new mini park in downtown Paris, Kentucky, and it's right where they have a mural of the horse Secretariat. Secretariat is buried in Bourbon County. It's very nice. You should go over there. Nice downtown, lots of nice folks. And I do have a sign. I'm going to hold it up. It says politicians should answer questions as opposed to deflect, or waffle. Might be talking about Cameron. Kimberly, are you with us?
I'm with us today.
Yay.
Well, Dougie Fresh, I tell you what, your convention and visitors bureau, they need to put you on payroll. They really do. It makes me want to go there like right now. Like, oh my God, I want to go there. Sorry, you guys having some sinus issues tonight. Um, my sign is just basically going to say this. We already know that we can't get Cameron in office. We already excuse me, you guys, excuse me. We already know that these Republicans don't have our best interest at heart. We know this. I'm just going to say this. Those of us that are on the right side, let us all get along in unity.
Yes.
Yeah,
Unity indeed. And that's,
100%.
we're sort of
Yeah.
so as we sit here, chatting happily with one another, the United States House of Representatives has chosen finally a Speaker of the House, a gentleman named Mike Johnson, who is how to put this delicately, uh, pretty evil. He's, he is a conspiracy nut. He is just against every kind of human rights that we all are for, and they all get behind this kind of guy. We on the other side of the aisle are famously, a little bit backbiting and a little open with our disagreements, and that's great because we do value diversity, but like Kimberly says, this is a good time for us to come together right now over democracy and do the right thing.
Exactly. Can I say something, Nate, right quick?
Please.
Did you all watch that debate?
No.
Oh my
I read
God.
about it. I read.
Oh my God. Let me just say this, that Andy is in like Flynn. All over this state, people are calling him Uncle Andy. When
Uncle
he
Andy.
goes to functions, people are like, Unc, Unc, Unc. Okay. That means that he is totally invited to the cookout. Okay. Totally invited. He can not just run by, he can stay and get some ribs. Okay. But the way that he did Cameron, oh my God, it made my whole year. He said, well, my opponent doesn't know how. Well, let me show you how it's done. Ah, I thought it was gonna fall out. I just thought it was the most beautiful thing I heard all year long. I just had to tell you
Wow. Oh my
one more thing
goodness.
about Andy, Uncle Andy.
Uncle Andy.
I think last week I mentioned something about talked about Andy, and I had met him before working on retirement issues when he was the Attorney General. And Andy he's just Andy. I mean, he is who he is, and he's just a really nice man, and he's done an outstanding job as governor. And Cameron can say whatever he wants to say, but Andy is he's he's the real deal.
He is. That my former frame of reference used to be Mr. Rogers, like especially when the pandemic first kicked in, and he'd be talking to us, trying to keep us calm every day at 4 o'clock. I would look at him and say like, "Wow, it's like Mr. Rogers done had a kid, and there he is." He learned well from his dad. Because he's got that serious sweater energy, which is good. This is just what Kentucky needs, I think. So hey, what do you guys think? Should we head on over to News of the Week land and talk about some stuff?
Sure,
Doug?
yes, that sounds great. I'll be glad to take the first story and jump right into it. I want to talk about Boyle County school system banning books. Progress Kentucky advocated against the passage of SB 150, the horrible anti-trans bill that was passed through the 2023 legislative session. The Boyle County School Board, in conjunction with the superintendent or directing the superintendent, however it went down, have interpreted that Senate Bill 150 allows them to ban books. Mark Wade, the Boyle County School Superintendent, removed over 100 books from the school's library. These were actually removed in the middle school and the 3 elementary schools, not the high school. According to a statement, this was done after consultation with librarians, lawyers, and school leaders. The superintendent works with the board, and the matter was discussed at a September 26th school board meeting. Given things that have happened over the last week or so, I expect this will be a topic at future board meetings. Here are comments from the superintendent. Our school library books and programs are considered instructional resources and are made available to support the grade level standards being taught. School libraries are instructional support entities within our school. As such, school libraries operate differently than a public library system. Here are some of the 106 books that have been removed. A lot of these I don't recognize. The Dune science fiction series, a graphic novel written by Sid Jacobson titled Anne Frank, and it's supposed to be a graphic novel about what Anne Frank went through. Julian is a Mermaid, The League of Super Feminists, Captain Underpants, I have heard of that one, Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting, and Unplanned Pregnancy. The books were removed, as I said earlier, from the Boyle County Middle School and 3 elementary schools in the system. I was able to verify that one of the school board members is the mother of Representative Daniel Elliott. I'm not making an inference, just an observation. One of the members of the board used to be the executive director of CASA of the Bluegrass. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. Here are a couple comments from her during her tenure as the executive director. We recruit, screen, and train community volunteers to advocate for child victims of abuse and neglect who are in the current family court system. Over the past year, they've done new strategic planning on mental health, trauma and safety in schools, and for me professionally, that is something I have enjoyed seeing developed. It is a great thing to protect the mental health of our students and for school to be a safe place. That last sentence tells me that she does not agree with the superintendent's choice of book removals. What was the superintendent's rationale? He was appointed the superintendent on July 1st, 2023, and had been in the system for 20 years. Started as an ag teacher and then moved up to become the assistant principal before assuming the role of the high school principal, and then moving into the top job less than 4 months ago. He stated that the decision to remove these books was made before he accepted the position. So I assume he's being a good soldier. What does the Kentucky Department of Education think? KDE spokesperson Tony Tatman said in a statement that SB 150 does not provide for the removal of library resources from a school library. Lastly, our very own Progress Kentucky board member, educator, LGBTQIA plus advocate, and rock star Willie Carver weighed in on this issue. It is an act of cowardice and it is an act of hatred. It didn't even occur to us that a school would try to do this because it's so outside of what the bill is clearly about. If we were to see this spread to other schools, what you're going to see in lots of schools is kids who sit in a room 8 hours a day, 9, 10 months out of the year, and they're told, you don't belong here. There's no space for you. It's like it's illegal to exist. Will other schools follow suit? Will the 2024 Republican controlled General Assembly weigh in on this issue? Will they develop a list of books that students can and cannot read? Or for that matter, will this extend to public libraries? Stay tuned. You can count on the Kernels of Truth to give you information on current happenings. Back to you, Nate.
All right. Well, let's hear Kimberly. Do you have any thoughts on this matter? The book banning?
They took away Anne Frank. Really?
Right?
We had to do like a study on that when we were like in elementary school. Okay, we had to do all of that. And I mean, what is so horrible about Anne Frank? Like, they don't want books in schools anymore that tells the truth. They want everything to be fluff and whatever the kids' cartoon they look at nowadays. Doug, is that what they're doing?
Well, to be clear, they didn't actually remove the diary of Anne Frank. They removed a novel written by someone that talked about her life. So I don't know whether the diary of Anne Frank was in the library or not, but apparently they felt this novel was too graphic for school kids to have access to.
What constitutes too graphic? What the kids are seeing right now on CNN and every channel that you go to, and you see what's going on in the Middle East. You see where we're bringing more destroyers. We're bringing, I'm sorry, I had a cough drop in my mouth. We've got a problem right now. Normally, I would say a challenge, but we have a problem over there with North Korea right now. You've got a problem with Putin and China and all of them going behind our backs trying and saying that they want a new world order. So all of this, these kids can see at any given moment in time. So I want to know what constitutes too graphic.
Yeah, that's maybe kind of like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If you're a conservative Republican, we're going to choose books that we don't think you should be reading. I want to talk about children, and we have 4 grandchildren, and when they come to our house for an overnight stay, even dating back 5 or 6 years ago, they sit at the breakfast table after Grammy and Pops have fixed their breakfast for them, and they talk about current events. They talk about that kids are just smarter these days. And we don't need to try to dumb them down. We need to give them more opportunities to learn things and don't take away opportunities for them to learn.
That's a really great point, Doug. So in other words, kids these days have access to so much on their phones, and a lot of it, let's be honest, is apps like TikTok, and Instagram, and they're getting a form of education that sort of sneaks in around the corners. And so like your grandkids, right? That's wonderful. They've actually gotten a leg up on a lot of current events and whatnot. But then there's going to be a lot of other kids that are just like looking for influencers and how to make themselves more beautiful and all that kind of stuff. And that's the point, my friends, of having public education is the state has a stake in making sure that its citizenry has at least a minimum a set of skills and qualifications and knowledge and critical thinking abilities and all those kinds of things. So you can go ahead and get your TikTok and whatever else, or watch your hours of TV, but at least, the state has done a good faith effort to try to make sure that you can read and write and you can do your arithmetic and you know some history and you know some geography, on and on and on. And that's where I think the book banning comes in. It sort of is another element, that a corrosive element that sort of erodes the power of education, and just making kids not quite as aware of things and knowledgeable as they should be. And it's all for a political aim, but it's all very, it corrodes democracy too. So yeah, I don't think we need to belabor the point too much. That, I mean, we're all on the side of keeping more books in libraries, not fewer. But it's it has long-lasting repercussions. So, well, if Kimberly, anything else you want to throw in there before we go on to the next story?
Nate, I love you, Nate, dog, because Aaron, he never says that to me. I'm just
love
saying.
you back. Well, I'm having a great time tonight. This is a kind of a rare and fun opportunity. Aaron's going to hear this and sort of like, oh no, we can never have that guy on again. But I'm having a good time.
No, he would not. He would never, ever do that to you. You're doing great. You're doing great, and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I just think that, excuse me. I just think that, sometimes people make stuff much to do about nothing. If you're going to be putting Playboy and pornographic materials in the school, I can get on board with, let's ban that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of violence in Shakespeare, to be honest with you. There's suicide and everything. And what? You have to take Shakespearean classes in high school. They still do that, right?
Beats me. It's been a while. I don't have any kids. But yeah, let's, for the sake of argument, let's say they do. Yeah.
Okay. When I was in school, no, the cavemen weren't walking around, but I mean, it was a long time ago. I saw a couple of dinosaurs. But look, we used to have home economics.
Oh, yeah.
To teach us how to cook. We took sewing. That was the other semester of home economics, which I never could. I mean, no, I failed it miserably. But we also had something called, in our class, we had something called Planned Parenthood in class. It was called
No way.
that. And, the teacher talked about, reproduction in the most scientific of terms that I don't think anybody in that class was wondering, or their parents had no problem, because we weren't going to do anything the way that she explained it to us at that time. And then it would accumulate at the end of the year. Somebody in the class would get married, a girl and a guy, and we would have, cake and punch and everything like it was a real wedding reception. I don't think they can do that in the schools now.
Yeah, well, for one thing, with budget cuts, they really had to sort of pare down, and then there's the whole thing about teaching to the test, right? Where kids are probably tested a lot more these days than you and I were, because I know you and I graduated from high school the same year. I'm not going to give it away, but I remember. No, not dinosaurs, but maybe you and I were acquainted with a flock of seagulls. Wink. But kids,
Whoa, seagulls.
A flock of seagulls. Come on, remember that band? And I ran so far away.
Yeah. MTV. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Billie Jean was out. Billie Jean.
Not my lover. Yes. And Journey.
I want to know what love is. Oh my God.
Well, that was Foreigner. That was Foreigner.
Oh yeah, Foreigner. That's
Journey was Don't Stop Believe
Believe it.
it.
Yes, yes,
Here we
yes,
are.
yes,
We're
yes. Yeah,
hijacking the
that's
show.
how old we are.
I
That's
think
how
Kimberly and
old
I are
we
going to
are.
have to do just like an 80s, music podcast of our own. Um, but yeah, but no, but my point is that kids today, they're a lot more, the stakes are seemingly a lot more higher for them getting through like high school, right? Because there's all this stuff that they're expected to be tested on, and fewer and fewer resources. So stuff like your home ec, class, shop classes, and whatnot. It's harder and harder, and certainly to say nothing of arts classes, band, theater, just it's hard. Anyway, we could go on. I know we're all on the same page. Perhaps we should head over to the next story and let's see whose that is. Oh, it's me.
I
All right.
love it. I love it. I love it. Don't you, Price? Don't you just love him?
Oh, shucks. Gonna make me turn red here. All right, so let's head on over to the next story, and I think last story for the night, and it is called Kenton County Board of Elections votes to disallow Wi-Fi detectors at polling locations. So this is actually kind of a good news story for the great county of Kenton. And what great city is in Kenton? Why, Covington. It's right across the river from Cincinnati. And this story comes to us from reporter Nathan Granger. It was published in the Kentucky Lantern just this past Monday, October 23rd, 2023, if you're listening to this way in the future. The first sentence reads, the Kenton County Board of Elections unanimously voted to explicitly disallow the presence of wireless monitoring devices at polling places on Election Day. Wireless what now? Yes, my folks, Wi-Fi monitoring devices, if they exist, are now not allowed to be used within Kenton County polling places and presumably within a reasonable distance, although more on that in a second. So, as Nathan Granger's article explains, the founder of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, you've probably heard of this guy. He is a dyed-in-the-wool, there he is. He's a dyed-in-the-wool 2020 election conspiracist. So he's been telling his other fellow conspiracists that he has these tools called wireless monitoring devices that detect wireless networks, and they can determine if a polling machine is connected to a wireless network, which is, potentially a security risk. If you can connect that machine to the internet, it's possible for a hacker then to connect to you and yada yada yada. Now, no, these machines are all air gapped, and that's what the Kenton County Election Board says too. But the other thing is, big deal. You and I mostly likely have a very similar device called a smartphone, and you can go to your smartphone, turn on the Wi-Fi connection if it's not already on, and you'll get a list of wireless networks within range of your phone, probably not more than 50 feet away, but all things being equal. But according to a separate article from Kevin Tan, published in Business Insider this past August 18th, 2023, and hey, we spare no expense digging up these facts for our devoted audience. Mr. Lindell told Steve Bannon, this just tells you what devices. It doesn't enter those devices, so it can't hack the devices. It just tells you what they are and that they went online. Okay. Whoops, there's my alarm. Time to feed my cat. So it's more than just wireless networks. It's also wireless devices that it detects. Great. But that still begs a question. How do you know that a particular wireless device that your machine picked up is actually a polling machine? Unless the device has a network name like, polling machine number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't tell. So it's basically a next to useless endeavor. Unless the goal isn't to detect those machines, but instead the goal is actually to intimidate voters by having drones hovering overhead as voters wait in lines for the polls, or by having scary-looking dudes outside waving scary-looking machines around and announcing that they can detect polling machine activity. So what I think Lindell's whole goal really is not to find polling machines that are connected to the internet. It's really voter intimidation. It's a form of voter suppression, which is this page out of the Republican strategist playbook for trying to win elections. Well, sure, the Republican Party could try to figure out what most people actually want and then go ahead and create policies that address those needs, or they could just try to get people that they don't want voting not to vote. And voter intimidation is this time-honored, totally scuzzy way of keeping people from voting. And it seems to be something that the GOP defaults to time and time again. For example, gerrymandering or reducing polling places and hours for voting, all time-honored tactics for voter suppression. So going back to how we started my little rant, the fact that the Kenton County Board of Elections is now prohibiting use of these devices on election day, it ups the ante for folks like Lindell's followers who might try to schlep these things to polling places or just put them on drones hovering around like that picture there. That's a scary looking drone. Tell you what. Are they willing to risk breaking the law? The people who would put these drones in the air or guys waving things around, are they willing to risk breaking the law just so they can try to intimidate voters that way? Well, not in Kenton County, they won't. So that's one county down, 119 left to go. And I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleagues. Kimberly?
I'm going to be working the hotline on election day. So somebody calls me up talking about what are these drones? What's going on? I'm just going to tell them call the police.
Right on. And it's easier in Kenton County now. You know,
Pillow man. And you know what? Those pillows were very, very nice. He should have just stuck with that and left everything else alone. Seriously. You know, but no, I think that would be a breach of privacy. And you can't even do any electioneering 500. You have to be 500 feet away from the polling place. So that's not going to go down in any county in this state. I don't believe so.
Right on. What do you think, Doug?
Yeah, I think maybe you're being too kind. You're giving Lindell too much credit. I think he's just crazy. I don't. I wonder what was the impetus for the Kenton County people to do that. Were they concerned that somebody might try to disrupt the election, or I don't know.
It came up. Well, if you read the article, you know, they say the meeting's topic came up as a result of discussions. I'm quoting here now. As a result of discussions that Kenton County Board of Election Chair Gabrielle Sumi had at a recent county clerk's meeting, where she heard about this thing and Lindell's efforts to sort of hawk this device. So it came up. Somebody came across it, and then it came to the election chair's radar. And as it says, these are the kinds of things that keep me up at night. I just want to have a prepared way of handling this, which is great. She's being proactive. I'm sure she's awesome at her job. And, you know, and there we go. And now we have this this rule that Kenton County has instituted, or their Board of Elections, I should say. But, you know, and you could say, and, you know, there's another, so I appreciate what you're saying, Doug, about, you know, Lindell just being bonkers and wanting to impress the other, you know, kind of bonkers conspiracists just like himself. But, you know, I think part of it is, in a sense, because we are discussing this tonight, they've won a little bit because we're helping publicize this kind of, you know, just nonsense. And that's, you know, and they could come up with all kinds of stuff. You know, I've got it. These magic rocks. And when you rub these magic rocks, Republicans win. Really? Yeah. Here, try it. So they could come up with all kinds of stuff. And I guess it's up to, and since I'm the person who chose this story, I should take a little responsibility and say that had I thought this thing through completely, I might not have wanted to give this guy a second's worth of publicity, but it was kind of interesting too. And the truth is, you know, you guys know how technology is progressing. This is the year of artificial intelligence, and soon we're going to be seeing generative AI and large language model AIs tools sweeping across every single industry. And, you know, there may be a lot of economic repercussions. There's certainly, in science fiction land, there's a lot of sort of existential dystopian repercussions from these kinds of things. But my point is just that we're in an era now where technology is advancing so quickly that this is not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, it's going to get cheaper and cheaper, right? Isn't that what happens with technology? It keeps getting cheaper and cheaper and more sophisticated. So instead of one drone going over the polling place. Imagine like 50 of them, much smaller, going, and you're like swatting at them like flies, but they're there and sort of being intimidating in their own way. So it's not, I would say that Kenton County Board is maybe a little bit ahead of the curve to be addressing something that comes from the mouth of a guy who's clearly unhinged. But, it's not that we're not that far off from people trying stuff like this. And I think I just talked myself into keeping it. So let's not edit this out when it comes to make the podcast. Okay, Aaron, let's just keep this entire discussion in. Thank you.
Well, I want to say this about it.
Yes.
I believe that, this needs to go to the people. Why? Because people do have power. Okay. The more people that know about this, crazy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the more that people can be aware and make sure it doesn't happen. Because we don't want to be on election day. We're getting ready to go vote for Uncle Andy and everything. And there's all these drones around. Like, it would scare like everybody, like, especially now that we know that the government has done what? Admitted to us that there is unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrials all around us. So, you know what? That Mike Lindell, he might be one of those extraterrestrials himself.
He acts like it. He certainly does.
Exactly, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So,
Maybe, yeah.
I think you did right to bring this to the public. I really do.
Well, thank you. I feel I will have a good night's sleep tonight. I wasn't going to before that, but now I certainly will. Yes, and look to Progress Kentucky and Kernels of Truth to bring all y'all the latest in conspiracy theories and weird tech that people are using to try to intimidate voters and all the good stuff coming up. So maybe it's time to level with our audience and listeners that our guest, who we planned for tonight, Adriel Camuel, has not shown up, and we've been hoping against hope, but she is not here. So I think, yeah, that's her. She is probably booked, double booked, or out knocking doors and doing all kinds of things that she needs to do in these last 2 weeks of the election to become the 93rd district's next state representative. So I think this is going to be a shorter show than usual, but we did have a graphic that we found earlier online. Annabelle, did you see that? There we go. Yeah. So this came from another show, but it was a really nice distillation of some of the things that Adriel stands for. So for the folks that can't see this, the bullet points include things like reproductive rights. That's really important for her. I know we've talked about that. Healthcare as being a human right. Woo! Investments in public schools. So she herself has actually been in public schools for over a decade, not as a teacher, but as sort of a support person. And so she knows she's sort of on the front lines of changes in schools and the way that schools are affected by things like new legislation and lack of money, and also things like, hello, school vouchers. That's a big deal. Kimberly can probably talk about that, having heard the last debate, because I know that Governor Beshear and Attorney General Cameron were going on about that a bit. What else do we have here? Universal pre-K. That's almost a given, I think, amongst a lot of Democrats now. But it really bears repeating that one of the most important ways to set kids up for success in school and beyond is by having good pre-K education. And she's for it. So she's going to be voting for those laws, proposing those laws, supporting them. So all good stuff. What else do we have here? Fight for a living wage. She is all about ensuring that we have a good minimum wage that's not making people broke when they pay the rent. LGBTQIA plus rights. Yes, yes, yes. I don't think we're all on board there, but she is too. So if that matters to you, and I hope it does, Adrielle Camuel is your state representative for the 93rd, as long as you vote for her. And then finally, social and economic justice, and it's these are big concepts and they cover a lot of ground. But I think in general, and you guys, chip in if you think you want to add stuff. But these are basically the types of laws that seek to make things fairer for everybody, and especially with an emphasis on people who have not been cisgender straight white men like myself, have not been in large and in charge of our culture and political sphere. So all good things, all great things, and she is very pro Andy. She will support our governor, vice versa. So I don't know what else I can say except that if you live yourself in the 93rd district, what would be nice, dear? I don't know, Doug or Kimberly. Do you know how someone in, say, Lexington can figure out if they are in the right district to vote for Adrielle? Is that Secretary of State's office?
Yeah, you can go to the Secretary of
County.
State's website, or you
Okay.
can actually also you can go to the LRC Legislative Research Commission and click on legislators, and you can do a search by your address to find out who your legislator is. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick.
Woo, figuring it out in real time.
I just always go on my county clerk's website and put my address in, or I put other people's address in, and everything will pull up.
That's really cool. So the Fayette County Clerk.
That way they'll have all the local people, statewide, national, all of that.
Yeah. There we go. Yep. Funnily enough, it's FayetteCountyClerk.com.
And I put a
Sure.
link in the chat, private chat, that will also, if you're able to share that, and people can click on that, and it populates a map where you can enter your address and you can find out who your representatives are.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Doug.
And be on the lookout for the other guests if they happen to connect.
Yeah. So that's a couple. So we've got Kimberly with the contacting the Fayette County Clerk, and we've got Doug with this application from legislature.ky.gov. So yeah, between those two, y'all Fayette Countyans should be able to figure out if you can vote for Adrielle Camuel, and of course you should, because she is awesome. And a lot of people don't, like I've been knocking doors for Progress Kentucky, and I think we're going to have a little something about that next. If Kimberly, if you want to talk about that, the whatchamacallit.
Call to
Oh man.
action.
Yeah. That thing. But what I wanted to say was thank you. What I wanted to say was I've been doing some of that in Fayette County, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm usually surprised that people don't know that there's this special election because Representative Lamine Swan passed away unexpectedly a couple months back. And this is the special election to replace him, or nobody can replace him, but to get a representative in for that district. So it really pays to talk to people in Fayette County and Lexington and just remind them that this is coming up. It's out of the blue, kind of, but it's very important. So vote. Kimberly, you want to do that call to action?
I sure can. I sure can. So, first of all, we need you to sign up for Progress Kentucky's 4 more years of a compassionate Commonwealth campaign. Yes, we're all in on re-electing Andy Bashir and putting Colonel Pamela Stevenson in the AG's office. Of
Woo!
course, we love Buddy Wheatley instead of Michael Side Hustle Adams. Oh, side hustle.
Side hustle.
hmm Kim Reeder for auditor, and we think Sierra Enlow is outstanding in her field and should be the next agricultural commissioner. We're also supporting our buddy, Money, Mr. Michael Bowman for treasurer. And finally, in the 93rd district, we are backing Miss Camuel. We're doing calling and canvassing every week between now and November the 7th. So you can sign up to help today. Make that commitment. Um, don't think it's too late. It's never too late. All hands need to be on deck for this. We need Andy to win. We need Colonel Pam to win. Buddy Wheatley, Kim Reeder, Sierra Enlow. We need these individuals to win because check it out. With Andy winning, which I think he probably is going to kind of take this if everybody comes out and votes.
Fingers crossed.
He's going to need his generals with him. He's going to need that AG to be on his side to get things moving when the legislators are in gridlock. You need a Buddy Wheatley to be the Secretary of State. You need Kim Reeder. You need Sierra Enlow. And you need Adrielle Camuel. I like her name. I really do. So that's what I've got for you.
All right. Well, we can probably Doug. I mean, if you want to talk about some of the canvassing that some of the stuff you've been seeing, by all means.
Okay. I've had a lot of fun canvassing. Earlier, I had reported that an irate, probably scared woman called the law on me. I guess she told the Lexington police that I was a suspicious character. She is at least partially right. I had been called a character many times before. This did not, however, result for me being taken to jail. The police came, identified myself and what I was doing, and the 2 patrol cars went away, not to return. Last weekend, I met some really neat people. Here are some of my interactions. I met one of many people who were out working on leaves and told her what I was doing, advocating for Andy. And she said, "You better be glad my husband is not here." I replied, "Well, how fast can he run?" And we shared laughs, and I proceeded to the next door. I talked to a woman that had a Black Lives Matter flag in the yard, simpatico. Nice long conversation with a progressive woman who mentioned that she knew someone who would make a great candidate to run against Representative Andy Barr. We had a few nice words to say about Andy Barr. I encouraged her to encourage this person to make a run. I met a gentleman who could tell I could tell he wanted to know who I supported before he engaged in a convo. And after I told him,
I think Doug is having a problem. I thought it was me, but Doug's image is frozen here on the screen, and we're not able to hear him. Kimberly, I don't know if you can, but we may have to stop it at that, folks. Well, this is, Lie Without a Net live casting here from Progress, Kentucky. And I think it's just about time to close things up. So, Kimberly, do you want to take it away, or shall I?
I can do it.
All
And you've
right.
been so wonderful, Nate Dogg. I tell
Oh,
you what. You are the best. So, disclaimer always first: Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project, the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement, known as CAVE, and we're also proud members of the Forward Kentucky Network. So, Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. So, make sure to join us next week when we'll be covering the breaking news out of the governor's race. How many days do we actually have until election day? Nate Dogg, do you know?
I muted myself because I'm like, oh, my job's over. I can just start drinking now. I think,
No, not yet.
I
How
think
many
it's
days?
12. I think it's 12 days, 12 or 13. It's 2 Tuesdays from now. So Tuesday, 14 days minus one. Let's call it 13. Lucky
Okay.
13.
Okay. So we've got those amount of days left for our governor to be right back where he belongs. So the production of episode 136 was by the amazing and beautiful Miss Annabelle Nagel. Really appreciate her. And as I said before, thank you, Nate, for the songs, the new song. You can find more information, ladies and gentlemen, on Nate's music at natosongs.com. That's NATO.com. And then also, if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube, audio podcast and our show notes are available where you say on Apple, Google, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. And if you do listen to us on the pod, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. Also, just want to say this logo and some graphic content was provided by Couchfire Media. More information can be found at couchfiremedia.com. So I think it's been just a wonderful show tonight. Um, Dougie Fresh, I really liked what you did about the books and the banning of the books. And I just think at this particular time that it's Wednesday and we have made it to hump day, gentlemen. We have made it to hump day. So we only got a couple more days to go till the weekend, right? And what was that
Woohoo!
song in the 80s, Nate?
Oh yeah, here comes the weekend. Da, 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 da. That
No.
was Delaware Clinton.
Everybody wants to have
Everybody's
a
working for
weekend.
the weekend.
No,
Yes.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so you
Lo-
can sing that
Loverboy.
song tonight, and guess what? We will be back here next week with all of the election, this and that. I'm going to be at the watch party, which is going to turn around and be the victory party. And I'll
Yes.
be talking about that. So we will have a great time. So you don't want to miss it. Same channel, same bat time. And everybody have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you then. Oh, yeah. And Aaron will be back next week.